It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, and social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. How are you feeling today? Thank you so much for joining us. I am your host for today, Kevin McIntosh. We appreciate you for being here. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get straight into it. First and foremost, Keego Harbor City Hall is about to get a bit prettier. Outside the main parking lot, there used to be a 4-foot-tall selection of native switchgrass, planted way back in 2010, way back, right? But it always had to be cut. It grew to be like 8 feet tall, according, so we had to continuously maintain it. So the city of Keego Harbor actually received a grant through SISMA, an Oakland County Parks Millage Program, for some new plantings. As a matter of fact, the team is already hard at work. If you've driven by, you might have seen nearly 1,000 native plants of 25 different species already planted as of Wednesday, June 26th. Already planted. Keego Harbor Parks and Recs showed their gratitude on Facebook and social media by thanking DPW Foreman Doug Walden, as well as the Oakland County Parks team for all of their hard work in regards to upgrading those plantings. You can see everything on Facebook at KH Parks in regards to Keego Harbor and their upgrading with City Hall. Independence Day is on its way, by the way, but before the fireworks happen in the greater West Bloomfield sky, they happen inside the Connect Senior Center with some friendly company. The Splash Live reporter, Jake Schaff, has the story.
As we all know, Michigan weather can be very unpredictable. And when it came to the West Bloomfield Senior Independence Day lunch, it almost looked like Mother Nature was going to strike once again in the worst way possible. But the good people at West Bloomfield Parks weren't about to let that happen. And with a last-minute switch from Marshbank Park to the Connect Senior Center, the seniors were able to enjoy the festivities of Independence Day early, with no worries, and with all the fun in the world.
So we had our Independence Day picnic today, which was scheduled to be at Marshbank Park at Maple Ridge Shelter, but given the fact that it was a little bit rainy or the potential for rain, we ended up having an indoor picnic at Connect instead, and we had 65 people enrolled, and it was great fun to have people come out. We offered a box lunch with chicken and macaroni and cheese and cookies and some entertainment. It was really fun.
How great is it that you could still have an event like this today, even with the weather circumstances?
Yeah, yesterday we were looking at the weather and saying, okay, 50% chance of rain at 10, 11, and 12. We had to make a decision and call it. We're very fortunate to have our space here that we can say, hey, come on in, we'll do an indoor picnic instead of an outdoor picnic at the park. We certainly would not have canceled. There was no way we were going to do that. So we came up with the revised Plan B, and everything worked out really well.
The recovery was nice, and it occurred indoors, and everything was excellent. The food was very good. Conversation was good. The entertainment was good. The music was very enjoyable. The sounds and the tunes were for people that are my generation, and it was enjoyed greatly.
How great is it that the event could still happen today, even with the weather circumstances?
Yeah, it's great for the seniors, especially those who can't get out that often like myself. And it has a lot of, you can converse with other seniors and have a good time and conversation and not feel like you're isolated.
What do you hope the seniors take away from events like these?
Oh gosh, having camaraderie and time to visit, and it was really fun today. There were faces that I had not seen here before, so I know we're meeting a need, whether it's someone who is enjoying our space for the first time or coming in spending time with buddies who they enjoy spending their afternoon with. So it's always a treat. It's always a treat.
It's a great feeling to see these events continue to grow and bring more and more of the community together. Let's hope the seniors had fun today, even with this last-minute change of plans. And let's hope they have even more fun when Independence Day rolls around next week, hopefully when the weather's a bit more manageable. For Civic Center TV, I'm Jake Schaff.
Great to see a lot of smiling faces from the Greater West Bloomfield residents right there at Connect. And you can check out some of the photos from that festivity as well as other things that they have planned for the summer on their social media, Facebook to be specific, Facebook at WB Parks, to check out everything they have going on. Now, speaking of things going on in West Bloomfield, Greater West Bloomfield, I don't know if you're in the market to purchase a home, but they're saying home ownership costs jumped 26% since the start of the pandemic. So join us right here on the Splash Live to give her expert opinion as West Bloomfield resident and real estate agent Kristen Peoples. And I thank you for being here. And just to start off, since 2020, what have you seen in change of demand and pricing of homes in the Greater West Bloomfield area?
Well, I can tell you right now, obviously in the West Bloomfield market, it is still a seller's market. It is still very hot in terms of sellers getting either asking or above. You're still seeing multiple offers. So we're still seeing that scenario going on. Definitely. You just want to make sure that the buyers are prepared, make sure that they're pre-approved, and make sure that they're ready to go. And obviously, if you're buying in the West Bloomfield area, you have to be ready to make a decision like right away if you see a home that you like. But yes, 26% increase, and medium houses, the prices are about $410,000. So and obviously, the more bedrooms, the more you're going to see more of an increase. So you're seeing up to 50% of an increase, like up to 5 bedrooms.
Okay, so now we get into the big crunch of the information and what's going on. 410,000. We said medium home prices right here in our community, and which means it has risen since the pandemic. Yes. So that also goes to talk about what we're talking about with this article. What are the most common concerns with some of your clients regarding the rising cost of home ownership?
So a lot of them they're waiting for prices to come down on the buy side. So I'm 50-50 buyer seller. Yeah. And on the buy side, for whatever reason, you have some buyers thinking that prices are going to, come down. But then you have some buyers that are realistic and knowing that this, with our school systems, with everything that we have to offer in West Bloomfield, they're willing to go ahead. And the buyers that are really serious, they're making sure that they're prepared to put that offer in, and making sure that they're competitive with their offers.
Trust me, as someone who was literally actively searching for a home to buy, as the spring started to open, I saw the market open up. I saw more buyers come out to play and put more negotiations on the table too. So as the weather starts to get better, people travel, people also want to search for those homes. So this is a very high in demand season also, just to put that into perspective. But joining us again right here on the Splash, real estate agent in the Greater West Bloomfield area, Kristen Peoples, talking about the rise in home ownership, more than 26% since the pandemic, and how it's affecting the West Bloomfield area. What strategies are you recommending for some of these newer home owners, especially first-time home owners, to try to budget for these unexpected home costs?
So my suggestion, obviously, there is the NAR settlement that's going on right now, where and that entails buyers having to pay the buyer's agent. So my suggestion, if you want to buy into the West Bloomfield area and you don't want to have to deal with, paying commission for that agent, you may want to get out there now before mid-July-ish, when this is supposed to go down. Also, again, it's so important, if you're a serious buyer, make sure that you're pre-approved. Usually agents, we refer our clients to reputable mortgage loan officers. You want to also make sure that you have your savings together. You want to make sure that, and you're prepared that, you may have to put a little bit more down right now because the market is so hot. Yeah. But remember, you are investing not only in purchasing in West Bloomfield, but this is an investment for a lifetime. And so I love living in West Bloomfield. Sure. I'm a West Bloomfield, not only an agent, but I'm a resident here, long time, almost 20 years. Raised my children through the school system. It's an excellent community to grow up in.
There you go.
And just to live, so it's an investment. So make sure that you're giving it your all. If you have an agent that you're working with, make sure that you're listening to their expertise. If they're saying, hey, you may want to, be more competitive in your down payment, the earnest money deposit that you put up, that also shows good faith and that you are really serious about buying. So it's all about being prepared and being ready to compete.
Correct. You're saying it, you're hitting the nails on the head, and I'm glad you're saying it as the professional right here on the Splash Live, because if I say it, they're not going to listen to me, Kristen. Okay, so there's another part of these home payments, home ownership, the mortgage altogether, that kind of affects the payment and the cost, right? Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, right? And we're not even talking about cable, internet, all the other stuff, landscaping. How have you seen the change in property taxes and home insurance premium, premium insurance change in West Bloomfield, and how that has affected the real estate market also?
So I'll tell you again, West Bloomfield is hot, so people are willing to pay the premium. But I also sit on the tax board here in West Bloomfield as well. And what I always tell my clients, because I don't want them to be surprised, and this is going to be a nugget of wisdom. So hopefully your listeners are taking notes of this. That the taxes depend on how long the previous owner has lived in that house. So say, for instance, if someone has lived in that house for 30 years, each house is going to be different, but they were capped at that 30 years in terms of the taxes that they're going to pay. And so it breaks my heart when I see people, when agents don't share that information with their clients, and they come in and they're trying to figure out why their taxes went up so high. It's because that previous owner had lived there so long that they were capped 30, 20 years ago, And so I always tell people, we look at the seller's disclosures, not only just to see any defects with the home, but also understand, okay, how long has this person lived here? How long have they owned this home? Because that is going to dictate what your taxes are going to be. So again, if someone's been living in a house for 2, 3 years, maybe even under 10 years, your taxes are going to go up because, by the rate of inflation. But at the same time, if someone's lived there for a long time, then be prepared for maybe even a triple increase in the taxes. And I have seen that, and it's very, very sad. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow, that you might have heard some hearts right there. Joining us right here on the Splash, Kristen Peoples, active real estate agent and successful real estate agent and West Bloomfield resident right here in the greater West Bloomfield area, talking about the rise in home ownership costs since the pandemic, specifically right here in our area. I know we got to kind of wrap up, and I can pick your brain about a lot more. Any other key information that you want to give out to buyers potentially looking to come to West Bloomfield, or sellers looking to leave West Bloomfield with the housing market here?
So for the sellers, obviously, it's a win-win for you, because you can get a premium for your home right now. And for the buyers, there are some first-time home buyer programs that are out there, depending on the lender that you work with. So don't be afraid to go after the home of your dreams. And again, with the interest rates, I always tell my clients this: marry the home, date the rate. You can always refinance.
Date the rate.
So do not be afraid to buy your home right now because of interest rates. Interest rates they won't probably go down as low as they were before during the pandemic, but they are lowering. So keep your eye on the rate. Buy that house now. You may have to pay a higher mortgage now, but at least you're in the home of your dreams, and you can always refinance.
Hey, Kristen, once again, like I said, if I would have said it, I know this information, but if I would have said it, it would have just rolled right off the shoulder. But because it's coming from a professional, a successful real estate agent, and a resident of West Bloomfield, it means so much. Again, thank you again for joining us. Kristen Peoples, real estate agent in West Bloomfield, talking about the rise in home ownership costs since the pandemic. We appreciate your time and information.
Thank you for having me.
So much key information right there with that interview with Kristen Peoples. Just in case you missed it or you didn't catch it all, you can catch the full segment on our website, civiccentertv.com. Click on the On Demand tab. You can catch that as well as all of our other clips and segments from the show. And we have the QR code right on our screen if you're watching on civiccentertv.com. Take your phone, scan that code. It'll take you directly to the links where you can keep up with everything Civic Center TV and the Splash Live. And speaking of Splash, there's a lot of storms that's been hitting the greater West Bloomfield area and local communities. So we will talk about that and how to prevent that coming up. We are live, local, and social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
We'll be right back with The Splash Live.
Good nutrition can help make sure you have enough iron, calcium, and vitamin C in your body, which can make it harder for lead to enter your bloodstream. Help protect your family from the harmful effects of lead.
1 in 4 Michigan homes has high levels of radon, a naturally occurring radioactive gas known to cause lung cancer. It doesn't matter where you live or what type of home you have. You won't even know it's there unless you test. So don't wait. Testing is cheap and easy. And if there's a problem, it's simple to fix. Visit michigan.gov/radon to learn more.
We took action. Will you?
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is, fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
Find local municipal meetings at our program schedule on civiccentertv.com. Find when your meetings air live or when they're replaying on our Civic Center TV live stream. Find it all at civiccentertv.com and click schedule at the top of the screen. And now, back to The Splash, live.
Live, local, and social. It's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Thank you for being here and watching and listening to us. We appreciate it. I'm your host, Kevin McIntosh. As we were talking about, storms have been taking over in the greater West Bloomfield area in a mixture with this summer heat. So there's been a lot of flooding also. So we want to try to figure out how we can prevent flooding if possible. So, welcoming right here on The Splash Live, Oakland County Resources Commissioner Jim Nash to The Splash. We appreciate you for being here, Jim. And I just want to start off, what are some of the biggest causes of some of these home floods?
Well, you know, there's overland flood, which is something that my office doesn't really deal with much. There's also the either combined or separated sewer backups that are caused by flooding, which is something that, unfortunately, a lot of communities are being involved with in these large storms that are coming through from climate change.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about the whole sewage thing, but I understand that that is a great possibility. What kind of damage can floods cause when we're talking about like sewage and other causes?
Well, so for my office, we operate some communities that are combined water and sewer systems. So they're both stormwater and sewage.
Okay.
So this is something that has an impact when a very large storm comes through. We had one in 2014, and this is something that caused, in that storm, 18,000 floods into people's basements through that whole region of Southeast Michigan. And then also in Macomb County, that same storm caused there. So that's the kind of thing that can have a real impact on someone's home. If you've ever had that happen to your house, you'll never forget it. Trust me.
For sure.
And it takes a lot to clean that up. So this is something that is significantly important in these kind of communities. In Oakland County, it's the southeastern corner of the communities is a combined system. That's really the only one in Oakland County. Even separated systems in older communities, there's something called footing drains where water off the house ends up going into the sewers, and that can cause, and again, one of these large storms, that can cause a separated sewer system to go back into homes, and that's another issue. That's even stronger because it's not mixed with as much stormwater. So if you've ever had that happen and you're worried about it happening again, there's something you can put in called a backflow preventer.
Okay.
This is something that if you know your sewage comes out of your house into the system, if it ever starts coming back towards the house, it's a little flap that pops up and it makes it so the water can't get into your home. I would really recommend that if you have an issue, if you've ever seen this in your homes before, that's something that you can do to your home. It costs $10,000 to $15,000, but if you've had that happen, you recognize that the costs of having a flood in your home can be more, and it's traumatic. And I can tell you, it is truly traumatic to folks.
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially like when you have like a basement and you got a bunch of stuff stored down there, and then you just walk down there and see it. It's the worst. Trust me, I've been there. Joining us right here on the Splash Live, Water Resources Commissioner for Oakland County, Jim Nash. Now, if you don't mind sharing with us, are there any common areas for floods in Oakland County we should be aware of?
Well, again, in these large, very large storms, it isn't necessarily something that has happened in the past. So you might not recognize that it's something that could happen. So you know, just be careful. And whenever you're warned that there's a large storm coming, don't use your water and sewer while that's happening, because that can cause that to back up itself if it can't reach past a backflow preventer or water approaching your house. So that's something you should be aware of. And again, whenever you're doing things, I would avoid using your basement for things that are of any significant value, because these storms are going to be becoming more common, and it's something that we worry about. If you are in very low elevation, that means if you're in a valley or something, if you're low elevation, you're more likely to be affected by these kind of things than if you're up on a hill or something, because it takes a little longer for the water to back up to that area. So if you're down in a hill, just be aware. And if you've ever experienced it or you're worried about it, look into that possibility of a backflow preventer.
Backflow preventer, correct? That's what you said? That's what
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Very good investment from what it sounds like, coming from Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash. By the way, are there any current flood prevention projects underway in Oakland County we should be aware of?
Oh, absolutely. You know, any systems that have shown that kind of sign of a problem in the past, we're working with those communities to help them prevent that in the future. One of those things is green infrastructure. The way it's set up now, you know, any impervious surface, a rooftop, driveway, sidewalk, parking lot, all of that doesn't absorb any water. So all the water immediately goes to the nearest storm drain.
Right.
If you can put things in there, like in a parking lot, a bioswale, instead of a hump in a parking lot with a little dead tree in it, you have a bioswale. So it's a drop instead of a hump. And that way the water can collect there before it gets into the stormwater system. So we're working with communities to do those kind of green infrastructure projects. And again, this is that kind of thing that you can do on your home, is a rain garden. So deep-rooted plants are in this area that you can direct the water off your roof to, and then that prevents it from getting into the streets and into the storm drains. So a lot of communities are working on projects like that. We actually have a rebate program in the George W. Kuhn, like I said, that bottom southeast corner of Oakland County, where we're rebating up to $2,000 for folks in those communities to put in green infrastructure on their homes. Local businesses are doing it, local governments are doing it, but we want residents to be aware of this and something that they can contribute. Plus, they're little gardens, so it helps with pollinators. They look nice. It's just a way of making your community more friendly to people and to pollinators. That's important, because pollinators keep our plants going, and unfortunately, bees and butterflies are getting rarer in many of our more populated communities. So that's the kind of thing we're encouraging communities to do.
Jim, you got a lot to talk about and a lot to tell us in the community. And just to reset, joining us right here, Water Resources Commissioner for Oakland County, Jim Nash. How can we keep up with this? What initiatives are in place, if any, to educate the public about flood prevention, safety measures, and the information you shared?
Sure. I do library talks. I go to local libraries. If anybody's ever interested, I go to church groups, civic groups, anybody who's interested to talk about these issues, because again, they're very, very important. Anybody can go to our website. It is oakgov.com/water, oakgov.com/water. And we can just Google in there, green infrastructure, stormwater, any of those things. And we've got tons of resources that folks can look into and find out more. But I love going out and talking to groups. And it's again, that interaction with folks, teaching them about what our systems do is really, really important. And we do that with 4th and 5th graders, with adults, with high school students, anything. So we're available.
Oh, man, that's so good to hear. Look at you, Jim, getting out in the community and spreading the information. I'm glad that you are doing that, especially, you said, with 4th graders and going on up. I like that you're starting early with that. Education, you know, it can be taught at any age. I love that. So what about in a flood emergency? How does the county coordinate with other agencies and community to respond effectively to emergencies and floods?
Well, in Oakland County, we're part of the Emergency Readiness Center. So anytime there's an emergency that might affect us, they notify us right away, and then we play a role in that. So there's a lot of things that the county does for emergency work. And again, you can go to the oakgov.com main address and look up that stuff, and it's very educational. And again, we want to make sure that the public recognizes all this stuff. So it's important that we get that out there.
Absolutely. Jim, man, I appreciate you so much for being here. But before we go, is there any other key information that residents of West Bloomfield, Greater West Bloomfield, should know regarding floods that we didn't discuss, or any other information that you just want to let them know?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, we're working with every community. I got to tell you, West Bloomfield is a very active community environmental protection. They have been for many years, and again, they're an example for a lot of communities. So it's really good that you guys do all the things that you do, and we appreciate that. We work with West Bloom a lot and the Bloomfields, because again, this is something that every community needs to be aware of, and we're here to help them do that. And by the way, I love the title of your show, Splash. That's a wonderful thing. And
I know, right?
The more we talk about water, the better we all are. So thank you so much for having me.
That's a good point, too. Thank you again. Jim Nash, Water Resources Commissioner for Oakland County, joining us. A lot of different information that he gave out, and you can find out more directly on their Facebook, Water Resource OC, or you can go to their website, of course, like you said, oakgov.com/water. Search any and all terms that you want regarding that. So there's a lot of different things going on locally and nationally that we should keep you all updated regarding, especially the upcoming presidential election. Let's kind of break that down from an expert opinion, from an expert that is local right here. So join us on The Splash is distinguished professor of political science and director of the Center for Civic Engagement from Oakland University. We want to thank you, Professor Dave Dulio, for joining us. Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
We have a lot to talk about when it comes to this presidential debate. President Biden, former President Donald Trump, that'll be happening tonight, Thursday, June 27, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do these debates actually matter when it comes to the election results?
Well, I think that's a incredibly important question. That this cycle might be a little different. We've got this very unique, historic in some ways, matchup between sitting president and a former president. And in addition, we've got two candidates who are very well known. Mm-hmm. Opinions about them among the vast majority of the electorate are very baked in. People know what they think about Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Of course, both of these candidates are incredibly flawed in their own ways. We've got a majority of Americans in survey after survey who say that they hope or they wished that neither of them were running. I think that in normal times, if we can use that phrase, debates can have an impact. Sure. This one I'm less certain, but at the same time, with the possibility that this goes sideways really quickly from either perspective, right? Right. It might have an impact, right? I think that all bets are off kind of with this one.
I would agree too, nonetheless, especially, the landscape of what we expect from, elections, debates and things like that. It has changed over time. But with this one specifically, it seemed like both candidates were kind of hesitant to even make this happen. So how do you feel like this debate may shape the rest of the primaries for both parties?
Well, I think that it's unfortunate, right, that oftentimes we see a debate about debates and whether they should happen, when they're going to happen, how they're going to happen. I think look, these folks want to be the leader of the free world, right? And the least they could do is get on stage and talk to one another and talk to the voters about their vision for the country. And, you know, it started with Trump and the Republicans saying the Commission on Presidential Debates is out. We're not, who have, and by the way, the commission has run every presidential debate since the 80s.
Right.
And, you know, Trump and the Republicans said, we're not doing that anymore. And their big objection was the moderators, right? That you know, Republicans can't get a fair share, fair shake with these moderators that they put up. And then, of course, right, we end up with moderators at CNN, you know, Trump's nemesis. And, you know, I think, but although I would say I think that that's partially by design. There's nothing that Donald Trump likes more than railing against the press. And there's probably nothing his base likes more than when Trump rails against the press. Now, and on the other side, Biden, I think it's incredibly risky for him to do this debate. You know, the concerns over his age, his physical stamina, in some circles, right, his mental stamina are really big issues. And, you know, if Joe Biden stumbles or verbally, that is, or has a moment where he loses track and can't get his thoughts straight, like we've seen multiple times over the last many months, that's a big problem for him.
Yeah, no, you hit on the key points, which is why we have you here and join us, distinguished professor of political science and director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, Professor Dave Dulio, joining us, just breaking down the upcoming presidential debate happening tonight, June 27, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. To my understanding, there will be no audience, no studio audience. How do you feel like the absence of the studio audience may affect this debate also?
Yeah, you know, I think that's, again, in an ideal world, I think we want an audience, right? We want that energy that's in the room. I think that it might feel a little bit stale with just the two candidates and the moderators in the studio. But again, right, we'll take what we can get. I mean, you know, this debate is better than an absence of one, because I think that it does mean something when candidates are face to face and they have to talk to one another. And look, no one is expecting the quality of a debate that we've seen, you know, historically, right? Where even some more modern debates have at the presidential level have given us quality discussion. I don't think anybody's expecting that tonight, you know, and that's a problem. But look, it's better than nothing, and hopefully, you know, down the road we can build on successes and see the quality of debate go up, and enhance the discourse that we have in our campaigns.
From your professional opinion, objectively speaking, also, basically with the status of both campaigns also, what would you consider a win and or a loss for either campaign after this debate?
Yeah, you know, I usually, and I'm going to give you a terribly unsatisfying answer, but it probably seems like a cop-out, but whatever. You know, I think, look, if you know, the success of a debate these days for candidates is usually measured in whether or not they screw up. And I think that couldn't be more true in this case, especially for Joe Biden. You know, if he has a gaffe or as I said before, sort of loses his thought, you know, that's only going to reinforce the concerns that many Americans have about his age. And I think, you know, Trump, his big danger is, you know, looking like a jerk. And you know, if he can have some patience and sort of just take it low key, I think that would help him dramatically. And at the same time, I think, you know, I think we need to stop thinking about this as, you know, which candidate won. At the end of the day, they're both going to have successes and failures that we can point to. And I
Right.
suppose you could add like a boxing match, right? You could say so and so won on points, but in fact, I think what we need to do is think about, okay, did the voters win? Did the voters see something that was worthwhile, right? That's the real win-loss thing I think that we need to think about.
That's a good point too, Professor. And speaking of the voters, kind of bringing it to that angle in some sort of way. We know presidential elections usually influence candidates down the line in their party. Getting down to the local level, how do you feel like presidential debates or this one may shape the primary election outcomes on an Oakland County or local level?
So this is, again, such an unusual piece of this election cycle. We've got these, as you mentioned, right? Primary day is for a bunch of races is still a month, 6 weeks away. Right. And yet we're having this general election debate for the presidency. And I think that the biggest impact that we might see is with voter enthusiasm and, how the base of each party, right? How the staunch Democrats and how the staunch Republicans feel energized about politics in the wake of the presidential debate, right? Because that will affect turnout in the primaries and certainly in the general in November.
Yes, essentially, yeah, we'll have to watch things as they unfold, especially locally, but we're keeping our eyes and ears to the presidential debate that will be happening tonight also. Before we let you go, essentially, I just want to know, Oakland County is essentially a critical part of the 15 electoral votes that Michigan now has. What role do you expect Oakland County to play in determining what has already been a neck-and-neck race at the polls?
Yeah, one word, pivotal. Oakland County is important for so many reasons. Number one, it's a huge tranche of votes that both candidates are going to be trying to earn as many as they can.
Right.
I think we've got here in Oakland County an electorate that's different from other parts of the state. If there's any place that's got persuadable voters or voters that are willing to listen to both sides, I think Oakland County has got a lot of them. Not everybody, of course, right? Because there are Democrats who are never going to vote for Trump, and there are Republicans who are never going to vote for Biden. But there's a lot of folks sort of in the middle here that are up for grabs, and I think that they are going to be incredibly important come November.
I agree. Well said. And thank you for your professional expertise for coming right here on the Splash Live. Distinguished Professor of Political Science and Director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, Professor Dave Dulio. Thank you again for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Couldn't have said it better myself when it comes to this presidential debate that will be happening tonight, June 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will keep our eyes and ears to it to understand exactly what's going on and keep things relative to our local community right here in West Bloomfield. So if you want to find out more, you want to rewatch that, make sure you go to our website, civiccentertv.com. We'll have everything right there. Click on the On Demand tab. Locally, West Bloomfield School District announced their Laker of the Month earlier this week. Laker of the Month goes by the name of Michelle Walker, one of West Bloomfield School District's dedicated Great Start Readiness Program lead teachers. And school board trustee Ashley Davis read some of the many qualities that Michelle brings to the classroom every day. Let's take a look.
At the start of the school year, our classroom faced several transitions. Michelle rose to the occasion, ensuring a seamless continuation for our educational environment. Her positive attitude provided the children and their families with reassurance that they needed during this period of change. Michelle truly embodies our school's mission statement, which is to support each student's needs by providing opportunities, experiences, and educational tools for their journey. Congratulations to Michelle Walker on being named Laker of the Month. Your hard work and dedication and positive influence on our students and community is truly inspiring.
Very true.
great, well-deserved again. And joining us right here on the Splash Live, Great Start Readiness Program lead teacher for West Bloomfield School District, Michelle Walker. Thank you so much for shaping the minds, the young minds in West Bloomfield. And how does it feel to be the Laker of the Month?
I honestly was surprised. I was grateful. It's nice to know that everything I do each day is seen by other people and by the district, and it highlights my passion for what I do. And so I was just like, oh, this is so awesome.
Yeah, I know it has to feel so great, especially to be recognized for all of the work that you do. That, like you said, a lot of people, you know, we just do our daily jobs and we just love it and we don't expect the recognition. So how great is it to have you recognized for the work that you do?
I mean, it feels wonderful. I think that in the past, preschool has been preschool. Oh, I'm a preschool teacher. I'm kind of a glorified babysitter, but that is not the case. We work hard. Every day with my students, I take what they can do, where they're at, what they enjoy doing, and I put that together and I make a plan for them that allows them to succeed.
Yes, yes. Right here on the Splash Live, Great Start Readiness Program lead teacher for West Bloomfield School District and Laker of the Month, Michelle Walker. Can you tell us a little bit more about this Great Start Readiness Program, by the way?
Absolutely. So Great Start Readiness Program is a state-funded free preschool program for families that qualify. There's a lot of different qualifying factors. And what we do is we build really authentic relationships with our families to not only teach the children how to be successful lifelong learners, but to teach families how they can support them at home.
Correct, correct. And that and that's a great way to put it, because that kind of breaks down to the principles that are instilled. And what kind of values and principles do you instill in the children?
Within my classroom, my biggest goal is to build a community where we respect each other, we accept each other. We look at everyone's uniqueness as something positive that they can contribute to our classroom. So, you know, I'm a firm believer that children cannot absorb the academics without feeling confident in who they are and knowing that they're supported. So my co-teachers and I, that's what we instill in our classroom.
I agree. Yes, I agree. You don't want them to feel shy, like they don't have the confidence to ask a question, that type of thing. Trust me, I've been there before. That's very, very important. What inspired you to even become part of this program?
So during COVID, I stayed home with my younger children, and I had a great parent community. And they were like, Michelle, you're so good at this. You should be a teacher. And I was like, I've always wanted to. I've dabbled in it. And then I decided once my kids went to school that I was going to go back to school, pursue my bachelor's in early childhood education. And it kind of went from there. I love being the first educator that most of these kids see within the district. I love laying that foundation. It's a fun age. They're so shapeable at this time. And so I take my job very seriously, and I know that that takes on a lot of responsibility.
No, that is great, and I'm glad you take your job like very, very seriously, because that's a great point. This is the age where they're very, very influential. You're their first teacher, and you know, and a lot of people usually remember their first teacher, especially if it's their fun teacher, their best teacher, and things of that nature. So you kind of got me thinking back to some of mine also. Right here on the Splash Live, Great Start Readiness Program lead teacher for West Bloomfield School District and Laker of the Month, Michelle Walker. How do you envision this program continuing to grow in this upcoming school year?
So I think our program, as with society as a whole, is becoming more and more diverse. And I think the biggest goal is reaching out to those families, building that community. Our program, preschool, is kind of exploding. There's research-based evidence that shows that the preschool years are the formative years, and that they can predict how kids are going to do later on. So I think that we're only going to go up from here. We have high quality teachers that love what they do, and I'm really excited about it.
Good, good. Great. As long as you are looking forward to the next year and the growth and things that are happening, it's going to pass on to the children and have them look forward to it too. Real quick, if you don't mind, what kind of challenges do you face or have you faced, and what can the community or parents do to kind of help you overcome these challenges?
I think our goal is to build really positive, authentic relationships with our families. And sometimes families, depending on their prior experiences with school, also being respectful of the different cultures that we encounter, that sometimes parents are a little more hesitant to come into the classroom and to be a part of their child's learning. But we're ready and willing to meet parents and families exactly where they are and make an inviting environment, because we know that the more involved families and the community as a whole is in a child's education, the more positive it is for them.
Correct, correct. See, and this is why we have you here, to say it, to spread that word to the community and to the parents. And speaking of that, is there anything, any last message that you want to tell to the community, the parents, or any thanks you want to give regarding being the Laker of the Month?
I'm so thankful and grateful that I have the West Bloomfield School District community. They are passionate about educating young children, and just for the parents out there, if you're thinking about preschool, I highly recommend it. It can be scary sending your kids off for the first time, but I don't take that that respect and that giving of their children to us for the day lightly. They're your most prized possessions. So knowing that they're in our care, I always tell my students when they're feeling homesick or anything like that, like, your adults at home know you're in a safe spot where you're going to have fun, you're going to make friends, and they trust us. And so if you're thinking about it, I'd say do it.
Oh my God, you got me thinking about my son. He's going to be 3. We got to think about the preschool thing very soon too. So, you made some good points. We got to trust our teachers. You got to meet them. You got to know who they are, and you got to let them lead the children into that great way. And well deserved right here. Thank you again for your time. Great Start Readiness Program lead teacher for West Bloomfield School District and Laker of the Month, Michelle Walker. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, thank you. And this is why we have so much to talk about right here in the community. Good news spreading, congratulations, and talking about different things and positive things happening right here. So we have so much more to talk about and keep you informed on. We are live, local, and social. It's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
We'll be right back with The Splash Live.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Good nutrition can help make sure you have enough iron, calcium, and vitamin C in your body, which can make it harder for lead to enter your bloodstream. Help protect your family from the harmful effects of lead.
Find local municipal meetings at our program schedule on civiccentertv.com. Find when your meetings air live or when they're replaying on our Civic Center TV live stream. Find it all at civiccentertv.com and click schedule at the top of the screen. now, back to The Splash, live.
Live, local, and social, it's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Thank you so much for being here, watching and listening. We are on all social media, by the way. Facebook, Civic Center TV 15, YouTube, Civic Center TV. Also on Instagram, Civic Center TV, and make sure you visit our website, civiccentertv.com. See all of our segments on demand, by the way. Since we are in the middle of the summer, we know that there's a lot of heat going on, so we want to make sure we keep our skin safe and protect our skin, especially from the sun. So right here on The Splash Live, to talk more about skin protection, we have Dr. Molly Powers from the Department of Dermatology from Henry Ford Hospital. And Dr. Powers, if you don't mind, just starting off addressing any common misconceptions about the use or effectiveness of sunscreen that you want to clear up.
Well, there is a lot of information regarding sunscreen, and I think one of the most important things to do is to look at the ingredients and to abide by the manufacturer guidelines for storage. So look at the ingredients. There are some sunscreens that contain a known carcinogenic called benzene. So I would look at the manufacturer and make sure your sunscreen does not include that. We know that UV rays cause skin cancer, so it's important to protect your skin from the ultraviolet radiation from the sun.
Okay, and that's why we have you here to kind of break that down for us again. We appreciate that, Dr. Powers. So what are the key differences between physical and chemical sunscreens, by the way?
Yeah, we get a lot of questions about this. The physical sunscreens use actual minerals, zinc and titanium, to physically block the damaging rays from the sun. The chemical sunscreens use different chemicals to actually absorb the sun's rays and convert it into heat, so it's not damaging. So there's two different mechanisms to protect your skin from the harmful radiation of the sun.
That's interesting. That's interesting. See, I don't think of it like that, of using sunscreen to kind of absorb the sun. I always think of it as literally coming and blocking it like they do like on a commercial and just going a different way. But I guess, you know, the sun is good for us to a certain extent, I believe, and that's what the certain sunscreen would be for. Join us right here on The Splash Live to debunk all of those skin protection and sunscreen facts and rumors. Dr. Molly Powers from the Department of Dermatology from Henry Ford Hospital. Now, how effective is sunscreen when it comes to preventing skin cancer?
Oh, it's very effective. So it's important to use sunscreen not only when you're in the sun, but really every day. It's the cumulative damage when you're just out walking your dog or you're going to and from the car. It's very important to protect your skin. And I see a lot of skin cancer in our older population. Every day I'm removing skin cancer from people's noses, their lips, their necks, behind their ears. And I frequently hear, well, I was never in the sun. I was never a sun worshiper. And it just adds up over your lifetime. So it's important to protect your skin every day from the sun.
Wow. So just accumulative over life, just not like protecting yourself properly. Certain parts of your skin even can be affected by skin cancer by not protecting. That's very interesting work. Just makes you want to make sure you're on your toes pretty much all the time. Now with the sunscreen though, there's different SPF levels or whatever the case may be. I don't know the proper term for it, but is there a certain amount that you recommend in the sunscreen?
Yes. So every day, individuals should be putting on an SPF of 30 or higher on their face. And a lot of facial moisturizers have an SPF in it. The SPF stands for the sun protective factor. So an SPF of 30 or higher every day when you are out in the sun and in the direct rays, I do recommend using an SPF of 50 or higher. A lot of individuals don't use enough sunscreen. I think people put on a pretty thin layer, and if you look at the guidelines and the recommendations, you have to put on you have to put on a thick layer. So if you're not doing that, then go with a higher SPF. So when you're directly in the sun, I would say 50 or higher every day. Put on a facial moisturizer, protect your face, protect the backs of your hands. Those are always exposed to the sun. So 30 or higher every day.
I'm so embarrassed, Dr. Powers, because I'm the type to just buy sunscreen and just go. I'm not reading SPF anything. And this is exactly why we have you here. Thank you so much again. I got a million more questions. I know I don't have too much more of your time, but briefly, this is what I want to, being completely honest, right? Different skin tones. I don't know if that makes a difference when it comes to how it reacts to the sun or different things like that. So are there any misconceptions, information in regards to how different skin tones react to the sun and skin cancer and things of that nature?
Absolutely. So lighter skinned individuals are more susceptible to non-melanoma skin cancer. However, people of color also get skin cancer. Again, I see it almost every day. So it is very, very important. Melanoma, I see basal cells, I see squamous cells in individuals, skin of people of color. So it's very important to continue to protect.
Thank you again to Dr. Molly Powers, Department of Dermatology from Henry Ford Hospital, talking about skin care, skin protection, and sunscreen misconceptions that we all may have heard before. You can find out more about that and get the full interview on our website, civiccentertv.com. Click on the On Demand tab. And if you're watching on Civic Center TV right now, you can scan the QR code that you see, and it'll take you to all of our links, including our YouTube, Civic Center TV, Facebook, Civic Center TV 15, as well as our Instagram, Civic Center TV as well. We want to thank you so much for joining us and for being here today. We have so much more to keep you informed on, and we are the source. So we are live, local, and social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.